Most important thing you should know about China is it is not a communist country.
Given the fact that China for such a long time has been a communist country and ideology-driven, it takes a change in the mindset of looking at China to see what it is now.
Lots of people try to call me a futurist, but really I've just been a student of the world and its changes, and of course in my lifetime it's been very, very exciting.
I am focusing right now on China together with my husband John. We focus on China because we think that's the place where most of the dynamic in the world is taking place.
Well, the first thing to be said about China to begin to understand it is China is a country with no ideology. They left the ideology of communism back when Deng Xiaoping started the reforms, although it's still thought as a communist country. 70% of the economy, for example, is market economy right today. Pragmatism is the banner under which you have to try to understand what the new China is about.
What we experience in China is that they have a very strategic way of approaching their goals. So clearly, to become workshop of the world was a goal that was achievable. But once they reached that goal, they turn to the next goal.
China is doing some very important things to make itself an innovative country. And there's a very big difference between China and the West in this regard. In the West, we talk about innovation. We almost always mean we're talking about business and technology. But with China, they have to innovate in their social setups. They're developing a consultative kind of democracy, as they call it, that bottom-up process, what they call grassroots democracy. This is happening all over China, and people don't know anything about it, but it's certainly the beginning of their understanding that unless they serve the people, they're not going to survive.
Another thing that's taking place in China is that beginnings are in small portions. In other words, just as much as you have grassroots democracy, you have grassroots economy.
There's this great competitiveness among cities and provinces and so forth. And by the way, that accounts for part of its diversity. It's the most diversified, decentralized place that we've ever been at. It is not a monolith. The biggest problem in China by far, nothing comes close, is the inequality between the urban and rural people and their incomes.
The big challenge was urban-rural integration. One of the things that the West is not very much familiar with is that there is the dual system in China, where you have a household registration. So let's say you're born in village X, then you're registered there, and all your rights for education, health care are hooked to the place where you have the registration. Now, if you think that the village doesn't offer you what you want to achieve in life, you move somewhere else, but there you do not have those rights anymore. So that means you're kind of a second-class citizen.
And Chengdu is probably the furthest ahead of the integration of urban and rural residents and making them just one resident of Chengdu. And that's what they're doing. That will be fully accomplished, they say, by next year.
I think we, at a certain point, should look at the difference between the Chinese social political structure and the Western social political structures. If we look at the West, the interest for the country stays behind the party political interests. And what the West certainly could learn of China is that to do away with quarrels and focus on what is the challenge, what do we have to get done.
We are amazed at how little interest there is in China in the West. When China is growing, it's now the second largest economy in the world. Maybe in 15 years it'll be the first. For example, China last year flew the first electric airplane. Never been done before. Well, that kind of thing is going on all the time around China, but we're not really focusing about what their advances. We keep getting tied up by the ideology, and you know, we're moving toward a bilateral world of China-US, And it'll be not on ideological grounds, this battle will be fought out, it'll be on economic grounds. We should really be students of what China is accomplishing in all of these areas, these innovative areas that we all talked about.